What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over creative maps that I think are helpful to hopefully help you guys practice and improve in Fortnite. As always, if you guys do find this video helpful or informative, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below what you think you need to practice most, and there will be timestamps down in the description below so you can just kind of skip to which parts of the video you're interested in, and then also there will be map codes in the description below for the maps that I talk about. So before we get into that, I'm going to talk about why I think it's important to play creative and some kind of misconceptions that a lot of players have about it. So I played Fortnite since the second day it came out, since BR came out at least, and you know, obviously over time I improved as a player and got better like most players, but I didn't really start to see rapid or like exponential growth in my skill in game until I started playing creative a bit. And there's this misconception, or like the way the argument is always set up is players saying things like, yeah, I don't have 6 hours a day to spend in creative, so I can't improve in game. And that's just simply not true. I feel like a lot of people kind of set up that scenario because that is unreasonable. Who spends that amount of time in creative? If that's the only way to get better at the game, then it, like, obviously it isn't your fault. But that, I feel like, is just not true. Small time a day consistently can go like far away in helping you improve as a player. So like 20 to 30 minutes a day, about the time of one BR match, if you spend that in creative instead, you're going to see a lot of improvement. But even just like 5 minutes can also help you improve. And one of the main reasons for this is just the nature of Battle Royale games. There's a lot of downtime in game, and there's also large punishment for being eliminated. So you might spend 20 minutes in a match, encounter 10 players the entire game. That's like 2 minutes on average per fight, you know, like in between each fight. And you guys know how the game is. It often doesn't work out like that because you tend to see a lot of people off spawn and then not as many people mid to late game. And then also, just with the nature of BRs, like I was saying, there's a large penalty for dying. A lot of people don't want to die, so they spend all game camping or hiding or avoiding conflict because oftentimes it isn't smart to engage in a fight. And this just results in a lot of that time not really being that beneficial for helping you improve. Because you're not getting experience fighting. And then another thing is, if you don't warm up and then you go into BR not warmed up, it's probably going to take several games for you to get warmed up than it would if you just played creative, because of the downtime and all of that I was talking about. There's, you know, you have to loot up. Maybe you die in your first fight, you back out, go back to the lobby, ready up again, start all that entire process over, and then you might lose your first fight again. Whereas like if you take the 5 to 10 minutes to warm up in creative, not only is that going to be good practice for you, but also you're going to go into your matches warmed up, and you're just going to be getting more out of those matches from the get-go. So I've never understood the people who say they don't have time to play it, because it'll make your games better anyways. Why waste 2 to 3 BR matches getting warmed up when you can just do it in creative? And then you're just going to hit the ground running when it comes to BR. So the first thing we're going to talk about is going to be building and editing. This is something where there's not as many maps for it anymore. There was edit courses that were pretty common back in the day, and there still are edit courses out there. The map I recommend for this is just going to be Raiders Edit Practice Map. It's a pretty old map, but I feel like at this point in time, with building and editing, you just kind of need a space to build. There's probably better like zero ping, zero delay maps out there, but all you need is a place to build, and then you can practice building and you can practice editing as you're building, and that's so much more beneficial to you than just like having an edit course where you edit already placed builds, because in game you're gonna need to be able to fluidly build and edit and kind of edit through your builds as you're building. So just going in, spending 5 to 10 minutes a day, you know, building, editing, you know, free building, maybe practicing some retakes. Retakes oftentimes aren't as necessary as people make them out to be in game. It's kind of like an overhyped thing, but just learning them and practicing them will make you much better at building and editing. But just do whatever is comfortable for you, and try to like add new things into your practice every now and then, whether that's new retakes, new like free building edits, or whatever you want to do. Just spending some amount of time in game building and editing, you will see a lot more improvement than what you would get if you just played BR. Because if you just played BR, you have mats to worry about. You have to refarm those mats. You have to worry about fighting people. And this, you can just build at your own pace. There's no pressure on you, and you can kind of improve and get better over time. So that's pretty simple. The next thing we're going to talk about is going to be aim. And there's 2 maps I kind of recommend for aiming. 0x60's Aim Plus Mechanics map is something I've used for a long time, and I pretty much only use the shotgun room in here. I like this because you just shoot the target, it moves. You shoot the target, it moves continuously over and over and over again, and there's no time limit or anything. You can shoot the wall and start the movement mode, and this will kind of send a beam of energy at you that you have to dodge while you're aiming and hitting shots, and that just kind of adds an extra level of kind of difficulty to it, an extra thing you have to pay attention to while also tracking the targets and hitting them, which is much more representative of the type of thing you're going to be doing in game. Like, it just, you use more of your brain doing that, I feel like. And then also there is a spot in here where you can build and then kind of like edit the wall, pump the target, reset the wall, make a new edit, pump the next one, and just so on and so forth. And that's one of the things I like most about this room when compared to Clix's Aim Map, which is another aim map. The code for both of these will be in the description below. I feel like Clix's Aim Map has many more scenarios for practicing like AR and SMG aim. And if you are actively trying to improve your aim, I think the Clix map is probably better. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the MK Alpha. It has the MK7 instead. Hopefully that gets changed in the future. To kind of represent the current loot pool. But I think Clix's aim map is better if you just want to practice aiming and get better at aiming. There's so many different like mid to long range scenarios, and then also some scenarios where you use the SMG. You just shoot the targets on the wall, load into the scenario, and if you ever are in a scenario and you want to get out of it, you can just emote on this map and it'll send you back to like the starting room. This Clix map also does have a shotgun room, which is quite good. It is probably better than the 0x60s map shotgun room, but it doesn't have a place where you can build. There's no building in here, so you can't like build, edit, pump, reset, and then do the thing I was talking about before, which is something I personally like. But if you're a zero build player, the Clix's aim map is incredible, and you probably will get better at the game if you spend, once again, 5 to 10 minutes on this map. It's not like you need to spend hours on hours on hours. I feel like that's almost detrimental. I think a lot of practicing things comes with like small amounts of time consistently over a longer period of time rather than just like one bulk session. If you want to spend a lot of time practicing, you can, but I would find a few of these scenarios that you enjoy running and then kind of do them daily before you start playing. The next map we're going to talk about is going to be Raiders Peace Control map. If you are a build player, I think this is probably the best practice map, and this is another reason why I don't think edit courses are that frequent anymore or that big of a deal anymore, because you could just do something like this. Not only will you practice editing, get your aim involved, and then you also are practicing piece control. So with these maps, there's several different scenarios that you can go into. There's a bot standing there. You basically full piece the bot, pump it, it restarts you at the start of the scenario again, and then you just rinse and repeat. You can run these scenarios, you know, dozens of times within just a few short minutes, and this is very, very good practice. I quit playing during chapter 2 and came back towards the end of chapter 2, started chapter 3. And this is one map that like I started practicing and using a lot, and this is something that really helped me kind of get comfortable with the game again, because when I quit playing the game is kind of when the piece control meta started to take off, so I was really behind in that regard. I think this map is incredible. If you're only going to take away one map from this entire video, I think the Raiders piece control map is probably the most efficient one to use. You just practice building, editing, piece control, aim, all in one map. It is very, 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 very good. And once again, find a few of these scenarios you like running, run them consistently. It doesn't have to be hours upon hours a day. 5 to 10 minutes a day in this map, you will see improvement over time. The next maps we're going to talk about are going to be the fighting maps, and I think these are also some of the most efficient ways to practice. So, you know, the building, editing, aim, piece control maps, those are all good, but if you can't do it in an actual fight versus an actual player, it's not really that big of a deal. And I feel like those maps are pretty good for warming up mechanics, but this is where you'll really get a large amount of your practice in. So there's countless 1v1 box fight zone wars maps out there that you can look up, or you can just go to the practice tab in the game mode selection screen to play. I'm not going to cover that many like box fight zone wars 1v1 maps because they all kind of do the same thing, you know. Personally, what I play every day is going to be the pit, and this isn't the best practice compared to some of those other maps. Like, I think if you were to play some box fight or 1v1 maps, you would probably find better players, and playing against those better players would help you get better over time. But the pit is very good just for getting in a lot of fights in a short time span, and like kind of like a wide variety of different types of fights. With pretty much no downtime. I think the player quality will be lower in the pit than what you might see in some other maps, some other build maps at least. But if you just want to get into a bunch of fights very quickly and get warmed up, I think the pit can be very good for that. You don't really have to worry about spectating after you die or waiting for the round to end or anything like that. If you get eliminated, you just drop down next. If you eliminate somebody, they just drop back down. And so it keeps like a consistent flow of fighting just happening. 10 minutes in here, you'll get in dozens of fights. And that you can be huge if you just want to warm up. If you're actively trying to get better, then sure, 1v1ing a good player or playing box fights versus decent players, I think will definitely help a lot more than playing something like the Pit. But if you're just trying to like maintain skill or warm up, I think the Pit is very good. And it's something I play every day, you know, about 10-20 minutes before I stream. And it definitely, I think, helps me get warmed up much faster than going in dry into BR. So the next thing we're going to talk about is going to be fighting maps for zero build. Similar to the build maps, I think these are very good because if you practice the other things in like kind of the aim map, it's all good to shoot targets. But if you can't do it versus real players, it's not that big of a deal, you know? The practice you get versus real players is always going to be much more helpful. And unfortunately with zero build, there's not as many good fighting maps out there. And the maps we have seen in the past, like the Coney Crossroads deathmatch or the Anvil Square deathmatch, a lot of those maps fail to like maintain a player base. And so for zero build, we're very limited on options. I think the two best choices are going to be red versus blue and the Pit zero build. I hope this Pit zero build maintains a player count. So we're going to start off with red versus blue. This map is very popular. You're not going to have to worry about this map dying probably. But I think it is very, very bad practice. I think the player quality in this map is lower than any other creative map I've seen. And I played a few sessions just to try to like get gameplay for this video and also familiarize myself with the map. I mostly don't play the fighting zero build maps because I play both builds and zero builds. So if I wanted to warm up, I just, you know, warm up builds. But red versus blue, the player quality I think is much, much, much lower than the Anvil Square deathmatch or the Coney Crossroads deathmatch maps we had in the past. And that matters because if you're fighting against people that have no idea they're playing Fortnite, you're not going to benefit as much from those fights. So that's one thing. And then also I feel like the nature of this map being teams results in a situation where you might just have some players, you know, stacking on each other. And so you're fighting 5 people at once constantly. And there's not much to take away from that. Or you're sitting outside their spawn, just kind of spawn camping them, or they're sitting outside your spawn camping you. I just feel like there's a lot of fights you get in this red versus blue map that just aren't really that beneficial. And then even when you do have more standard fights, the player quality is oftentimes so bad that it's just not that beneficial. I think the Pit zero build map is much, much, much better. I feel like the player quality on this map, from what I've seen at least, is better. And it's also a free-for-all. So you don't have to like deal with the team nature of the map. You don't have a situation where your teammates or your enemy team like all leaves and it's just like you and 8 people versus like a few on the other team. You don't have to worry about fighting like 5 people at once. You might, because it's a free-for-all, sometimes you get focused. But again, I think the player quality is better. The types of fights you get in the Pit, I think, will be more representative of the fights you'll get in an actual game. You do have the scenario sometimes where you might just have people landing on your head after you eliminate them, and that's true for the build Pit as well. But I think that's... You don't want to worry about your deaths as much in these maps. You just want practice fighting. And so the positive of the Pit having very short downtime between fights also comes with the negatives that sometimes people just land on you. But I think it's worth, and I think that if you are looking to practice in zero build and get better at fighting in zero build, I think the Pit zero build is significantly better practice than red versus blue. Like, it's not even like a debate. It's huge. And there's a wide variety of weapons on all of these maps. I think if you are trying to practice and get better, it is just best to use the weapons that are currently in the loot pool. So you have like almost every weapon that has ever been in Fortnite in some of these maps. But if you're trying to get better or you're trying to warm up so you can play better in public matches, I think using the weapons that are currently in the loot pool is going to be the best choice for you. You know, if you have the option of running Prime Shotgun and Stinger SMG, you might have enjoyed those weapons in Chapter 3 and playing with them can be fun, but that's not going to help you perform as well right now because the Havoc Pump and like the Combat SMG or the Flapjack are the main spray weapons in the game. And then the same goes with ARs. You might miss the Red Eye, but if you're trying to practice, you should be using the MK Alpha because that's the AR that's currently in the game as of the time I'm recording this video. Obviously, things are always subject to change in Fortnite, but that's just kind of my thoughts. When it comes to any of these fighting maps, you want to use the weapons that are currently in the loot pool because that's going to be the most reflective of that practice is going to translate more, I think. So that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys found this helpful, informative, interesting. Like I talked about at the start of the video, spend small amounts of time in here, you know. 10-20 minutes a day, you're going to not only practice and improve your skill, but you're going to go into your matches more warmed up, and so you're going to get more out of those matches in the long run. And these fighting maps, I don't think are very boring. I could see people not enjoying just free building. Personally, I enjoy free building and like the piece control maps and stuff. But there's people out there that don't like that. But at least these fighting maps, it's pretty high action. You'll get into a lot of fights quickly. You're going to, you know, get much more efficient practice than just playing BR matches. And then also you're going to be warmed up for your BR matches, so you're going to get more out of them. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more. Comment down below what you want to practice most, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.